gonna be so goddamn rich.
I think it's time to blow this thing. Get everybody's stuff together. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's go.
Gonna be fucking rich. I want my fucking money. Griffin, I want my fucking money. Yo, motherfucker. Holy shit, we're gonna be so fucking rich. Damn it, we're gonna be so fucking rich. Griffin, I want my fucking money.
You're an original,
Hey,
aren't
yelling,
you?
cowboy, give me the fucking money. Get the goddamn money printer out. Hello, everyone. It's Marcel Kalinovic. I'm here with Dr. Marcel Metzler, and we've got some very interesting news to discuss. How are you doing today, Dr. Marcel Metzler?
I'm fine, very good. How are you?
I'm excellent. Thank you. I'm very much looking forward to I've been looking forward to this discussion for quite a while. There's been a lot of demand for it in the community, just regarding the stock market and the economy. A lot of people want to know and need to know what's going on in the current, global economy regarding the Chinese real estate that is seems to be extremely contagious at this point. Is there anything you can update us on the Evergrande situation?
Yes, I would like to give an update on our efforts on the bankruptcy petition.
I've been looking forward to this
give
discussion.
some background on to give a full picture. So we purchased the Evergrande bonds on the November 1st. We purchased nominal value 200,000, which is the minimum value, just to make the evidence that Evergrande defaulted on several interest payments in October. So on November 10 last year, so Evergrande didn't pay the interest on our bonds.
Wow.
And we reported on that and asked Clearstream and other parties to confirm that the payment has not been made. We also posted this publicly, and so far we have not received any confirmation that the interest has not been paid or has paid. So actually nobody commented on that, and then we made a press release that Evergrande has defaulted, but mainstream media did report that it had been paid based
Right.
on rumors, and
Sure.
then, yeah.
If I may interject for just 1 second,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right about that. Back in September, we were making a video in regards to Evergrande, and it was very clear that, like we said in our last discussion, that the Wall Street Journal, the New York Times were reporting that Evergrande had made its bond payment. However, there was other news in Taiwan and other places in the Philippines that were reporting that none of the bondholders would confirm. So it seems like this is an ongoing situation. This isn't just all of a sudden Evergrande can't pay their bills. This has been going on since September, October, November, December bonds, it seems like. Why do you suppose that the rating agencies, for example, Fitch Ratings, SP Global, and Moody's have not done their job and downgraded the Evergrande junk bonds, which have had multiple defaults, month over month, it seems. But what would you say to these ratings agencies if you could say something to them?
So the duty of a rating agencies would have been to request confirmation from the companies or from investors, and they have not done in November. By November, they have then done only in December. At December 6th, Evergrande did comment that it's very likely that they default. They did their own communication on that, and then on they officially communicated default on December 6th, and then Fitch did downgrade Evergrande on December 9, also stating that the company and investors did not comment on their request, and but
so there was no reply.
But Evergrande did one thing: they did withdraw the rating. So very good trick. Yeah. So they did withdraw the rating with Fitch, and but Fitch was the only rating agency commenting on that properly at this time. They could have done this months before, as we did, but they did, and then the company did withdraw the rating. So currently, if you look at Bloomberg, if you look in Bloomberg Evergrande bonds, you see the Fitch restricted default status, but all the international bonds are still not in a default status, even though Fitch did state that a cross default has happened. They stated that in December 9 in their press release. So, but because in Bloomberg these bonds are not in a default status, so hedge funds could use these bonds still as a collateral. So yeah, and that's the reason why we still working on the bankruptcy petition. It's very important that we do. And let me continue which obstacles we had to face in filing the petition. So on November 22nd, me and my colleague Michael, we went to the Caymans, looked for local lawyers, and did give them a mandate to file the petition based on the information we had given in their local office. So they confirmed to us that they can do the petition, they can file the petition within a week. And so we given them the mandate and also paid them. Yeah. But
so they took your payment.
Days,
they took your payment, and they said that they would take the case and submit the petition.
We paid them upfront $26,000.
Oh wow!
For handing over the petition. They promised us to do it within a week, but then after 3 days, they came up with some arguments that actually they work for the court and they can only submit petitions which are very likely to go through, and we need to prove our ownership in the bonds. We need to hand over this document and that. And so they delayed us by, let's say, 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Then we saw their intention that they actually had a conflict of interest. So they had accepted an IPO on the Shanghai Stock Exchange, and actually we saw what happened. They had really a conflict of interest, which they did not disclose to us, so this was shortly before Christmas, before everybody went to the holidays.
Right.
And during that time, I posted that we are looking for other investors to join our action group. But then after Christmas, actually nobody nobody showed up, and we decided to continue with new lawyers, and also international lawyers are able to hand in a bankruptcy petition in the Caymans.
Yes.
So we hired an international lawyer, and we finished our bankruptcy petition. But in the meantime, on December 9, the cross default was confirmed.
Mm-hmm.
So we had another argument for the evidence of the bankruptcy status of Evergrande, and we completed our petition with new lawyers, and so far we have completed our petition. And in the meantime, there had been other investor groups which threatened a lawsuit against Evergrande.
Right.
And the last days we tried to contact them, offered them to join our action group. And you have seen also Oaktree has secured a lot in Hong Kong, and forced Evergrande to sell that lot to fulfill the liabilities, to get them repaid. So what we have seen so far is that we have seen some transfers of assets to some fire sales. And the other thing is that the directors of Evergrande, they have some fiduciary duties after they have officially declared default on December 6th. They should have voluntarily handed in the petition in the Caymans, but they did not.
According to bankruptcy law, they're supposed to do that.
According to bankruptcy law, this could be bankruptcy fraud right now, and we are also following that. So the directors of Evergrande could be now personally liable for such not handing over the voluntary bankruptcy petition.
I see.
So that's the current status, but we wanted now to hand over the petition, but we learned today that our new lawyers now are fearing some risks, and they do not want to hand over the petition now on our behalf. So very nice to learn.
Is it surprising that there's a massive conflict of interest between all the world's top banks that hold these bonds, as well as the rating agencies and the Fed and these attorneys? Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
So,
it's not surprising. They all work together. So I completely understand. And it sounds to me like we need to find an international attorney who's willing to handle this petition, which we are paying good cash, or should I say, you and your company are paying good hard cash to get it done properly and legally. Is that correct?
So I paid to the new lawyers another $25,000. Of course, now the petition is ready to be handed over. But somebody needs to do it, and I officially now ask for help here. If an international lawyer who wants to do this job with us, who takes the responsibility to send Evergrande into bankruptcy, So please contact me, and hopefully we can hand over this petition in the coming days. So please contact me.
I would like to note that Dr. Marcel Metzler is a former director of Fitch Ratings Agency and currently the head of DMSA, Deutsche Market Screening Agency. They are Evergrande bond holders here internationally, and they have not gotten paid for their, I believe it was in November payments bonds.
November
You guys
10th,
went through?
yeah.
That's correct. The exact bond is something we will share, in the description and in the video links. However, Dr. Marcel Metzler is not the only one. There are hundreds, if not thousands, of international bondholders. The majority of those, the largest ones being companies like BlackRock, HSBC, UBS, Ashmore Group, amongst many others, including the Royal Bank of Canada. So there are a lot of conflicts of interests with these attorneys who work with these companies, these banks, these prime brokers. So we need to find an international attorney that is willing and able to handle this properly. And of course, Dr. Marcel Metzler's got a great case here, because there are also currently over 400 lawsuits within China from local bondholders and people that are owed money, as well as just February 1st, China Construction noted that they were going to file over 400 additional lawsuits to China, Evergrande, for a lot of money that they are owed. So plain and simple, there's almost 1,000 lawsuits within China going after the money that they're owed. Meanwhile, Evergrande is being nationalized slowly. The majority of the directors, the board of directors of Evergrande has become, is now Chinese Communist Party government officials. That is correct. Would you confirm that, Dr. Metzler? So I'm sure you know that. Exactly. So that being the case, they have slowly nationalized Evergrande and are giving away millions of square feet of undeveloped land and giving away unfinished condos and apartments to other corporate entities within China. And in doing so, the Chinese Communist Party is allowing those entities to not show that debt, that new debt, on their books, which would impact the 3 red lines test negatively, which is a stress test upon these banks and developers. So they're effectively nationalizing and giving away all of the property, the hard property, the soccer stadiums, everything, all the condos that Evergrande has built so far, even the unfinished apartments, to companies and special interest groups within China. So the only way at this point for international bondholders to see even pennies on the dollar from their initial investment would be to pursue this bankruptcy petition. Would that be a correct assumption to make, or what do you think?
Yes, that's correct. So the Chinese government stated that international bondholders are the last group to be paid. So preference is given to onshore bondholders and banks. But international bondholders should be first priority if an international bankruptcy law process is started in the Caymans. And so somebody needs to hand over the petition to do the job. Nobody wants to do it. Nobody wants to spend money on it. And so we are ready to do it, and need attorney, an international attorney to help us to do it. And we also could hand it over ourselves. So if nobody wants to do that, we will. The last action would I would fly to Caymans again and hand it over myself. I promise.
Mm-hmm.
But it's better if we have some support from an attorney, because
Yes.
I tell you what happens after we have handed in the petition. Then so it will be checked by the Grand Cayman Court. So it can take up to 1 week to be checked. by the judges, and then there will be made a decision to reject the case or to accept the case. So yeah, so even though we have handed in the petition, it will take more than a week to know if it's been accepted.
Right.
And once accepted, they will appoint a liquidator. We already have 2 liquidators which want to do the job. This was also a
They're
challenge
ready.
to find somebody. Yeah,
They're ready.
we found that 2. Yeah, the job is done. And then once the court officially appoints the liquidator, then every transfer of assets done by Evergrande can be revoked later, and also the assets will be frozen. International assets and accounts will be frozen, and yeah. And
So
then,
right now they're giving away all the money that rightfully belongs to the bondholders because they're the ones that invested in the company. They're giving it away to people within the Chinese Communist Party, to their own country, in an effort to keep it, basically nationalize it at no cost. It's quite ridiculous what's happening, and I think more international bondholders need to stand up. But again, that conflict of interest remains there with these large prime brokers because they own so much of it. They're able to use the entire notional value of that bond, even though they're paying pennies on the dollar for it now. So people keep asking me, why does Evergrande keep going up? And I'm letting them know, well, Evergrande went up, 2 pennies, 2 US pennies. And that made an 8% impact on the stock price, which helped help them buy a little bit more of these junk bonds, in which they're slowly putting into, slowly using dual purpose notes and auto callable yield notes to sneak them in to ETFs and funds for Americans and Germans and people worldwide who have money in 401ks, IRAs, ISA accounts, and pensions. So your pension, many people's pensions, is being directly invested in these companies through the use of these ETFs and mutual funds and money market accounts. If you're not managing your own investment account, it is very, very likely, almost guaranteed, that there's going to be some sort of tranches of Chinese junk bonds, whether it be Kaiser, Shimao, Evergrande, or one of the other 100 developers that's defaulting currently, in your investment accounts. And that's going to bode very, very poorly within the next few weeks here. Dr. Metzler, what would you say on the situation with the stock market having its worst January in many, many years? Would you say is going on?
Yes, so the first domino, Evergrande, has fallen, yeah. But I want to state that once the bankruptcy petition is accepted by the court of Grand Cayman, then and only then the default status on the bonds will also be on Bloomberg reported, and Fitch and S&P, if they had the rating still publicly available, they had to downgrade them completely to a D status. So and then these bonds cannot be used as a collateral by hedge funds, and this will have a huge impact on the markets, and could also cause then a big market crash and a margin call, which is the base for the squeeze, the grand MOASS, the MOASS of AMC and GME, which we are waiting desperately for.
Yeah, and all other heavily shorted stocks.
Yeah, of course.
Absolutely right. The thing about Evergrande currently is a lot of people don't understand that they're currently rated restricted default and selective default by the ratings agencies. And so therefore they're junk bonds, they're collateral that your pensions are invested in through BlackRock and HSBC and UBS and Vanguard. Those junk bonds maintain their full notional value as collateral. So they don't want these to be downgraded. So BlackRock and all these other international bondholders, these prime brokers and Citadel, these market makers and hedge funds, and Susquehanna, for example, don't want to go after BlackRock. They don't want to go after Evergrande because they have a vested interest in keeping that zombie company alive and well. So those notional value collateral doesn't collapse on them. Because the moment that the China's largest developer truly defaults with a D, because through all the proof on this petition in the Cayman Islands, that would cause those bonds to be completely worthless once it's posted on Bloomberg. Is that correct?
That's correct. The bonds will be completely worthless according to Fitch analysis.
And they would not be able to be used as collateral for ISDA contracts and for the DTC and prime brokers, market makers, and hedge funds, right? So
again, the stock value will go to nearly zero, will be a penny stock. So Evergrande will be a penny stock.
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that it's already going for about 25, 28 cents, US dollars. So it's practically a penny stock already. Pretty soon it'll be trading on the OTC pink sheets. It's complete trash. But again, we need an international bondholder that is not in the pockets of these banks and prime brokers to step up, submit this petition, and take our cash so we can move on with this stock market, because what is happening right now is absolutely criminal. Dr. Metzler, did you see that on January 26th, there was a situation on the stock market where the SPY dropped 13% in 1 minute and was purchased back immediately using puts on the VIX? Did you happen to notice that?
No, I did not, but no wonder that something can happen like that. So
yeah, a lot of people don't realize that occurred on January 26, 2022. The S&P 500, excuse me, the SPY and the S&P 500 lost almost 13% of their value. And the plunge protection team used the ESF money given to them from Ronald Reagan, which was increased to over $500 billion during the Trump administration by Schumer. They used over $50 billion with a B to buy puts. To sell puts and short the VIX, the volatility index, which increased, which caused prime brokers, banks, and market makers to begin hedging by buying S&P 500 futures, and SPY and basically anything but the VIX, thus causing an increase in the stock market to bring it back up within all under 60-second period of time. There's quite a few documented graphs and charts that I will show on my Twitter. I'll save that for another time though. But the stock market is already collapsing, and Janet Yellen and Gary Gensler, as the heads of the plunge protection team, are already propping it up even more so than they were previously. So what is going on with quantitative easing? What is going on with tapering? Are they actually stopping the easing, or are they just using it in other ways? Do you have any idea?
So so Evergrande, even though it's not completely in default, but it already has fallen, and we are now in a phase where the market is in a downturn steadily, but we are still have not the panic, so with more days going down slightly, we will see a panic and then a sellout, and but also this could be accelerated if you look on a global basis. So if the Ukraine is invaded, then we could have this sellout immediately. So look at that. Keep an eye on what's going on there. So it's important what's it's a fear for a big conflict on the European continent.
Yes, sir.
Which would have impact directly on the supply chains of energy, on the inflation, and of course of the security of Europe. Yeah. So yeah.
Do you mind if we speculate for just a moment? Now that Russia's got over 100,000 troops and tanks and blood, hospitals set up right outside 3 Ukrainian borders, and the United States has begun sending, several thousand troops to assist, as well as weaponry from around the world and nearby Europe, NATO countries to assist Ukraine. What do you see as a possibility here with Russia, Ukraine, China, and Taiwan, the ongoing situation with the Olympics, and it kind of what appears to be an increasingly tense standoff situation between these world powers? What do you currently see could possibly happen here in either situation, whether it's Russia and Ukraine, whether it's China and Taiwan? Do you see any positive news that could come to the stock market at this point out of these?
No, it's a negative news, and it's a reflection of what's going on in the economy. So the Chinese economy is almost bankrupt. Yeah, and so we have international investors with 580 billions of international money which China owes to them, and so it looks that all will go into a default. So and this has consequences and on a military basis. So and it could war could be a consequence of not paying the debt. So there had been some talks in October between the presidents of the United States and China, and I think it was also about repaying debt. Yeah, so the US is even more indebted with China. Yeah, but if China does not pay the debt, repay the debt, so why should the US do? Yeah,
right.
But yes, this is not so easy. Yeah, and yeah.
Are you aware of a recent Freedom of Information Act request that's recently information that allowed information to be released from the United States government regarding the amount that banks were given after the 2008 banking crisis, the financial crisis? Are you aware that these banks were given over $29 trillion within the 2 years preceding 2008?
Wow, this is
$29 trillion. I believe it was Glenn Beck just came out with an interview. I'm sorry, with a video not even 3 days ago with all the details from the Freedom of Information Act request. And it has been proven now that they have received over $29 trillion over the 2 years after 2008. Many people are concerned that should such a collapse occur, that the DTC and their brokers would go bankrupt and they wouldn't be able to get paid if they had money on the stock market and happen to make money through the use, through their investments, their inverse investments, such as, shorting the bond market or buying AMC or the GME or the VIX or what other meme stocks or other things that are heavily shorted that are expected to go to the moon, as they like to say, when the stock market does crash and these market makers and hedge funds and prime brokers begin to go bankrupt, and then clearinghouse like the DTC and these other guys have to go to the Federal Reserve to get money. If the Federal Reserve can print $30 trillion after 2008 to pay all of them and bail them out, do you believe that they would have any issue paying another 30, 40, $100 trillion to keep their current financial system afloat? The DTC, the prime brokers, the market makers?
Yes, this is the last exit door for the Fed to create a hyperinflation. So, I
And
think
that's the concern regarding it.
they will do, but it has consequences to all the workers, the pensionists. They will lose all their savings. So they worked a whole life and then ended in it's horrible what the consequence will be. Yeah, and I think even though if even if we do not see a crash, but I believe we will see a crash. But if we do not see the crash, the hyperinflation it will occur anyway. So be prepared for that, and that's the reason I'm saying please also invest in tangible assets like gold and silver, or even a house. Yeah.
Property, some sort of tangible asset that has the
Yeah,
ability to
tangible assets.
accumulate in value over time.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. Dr. Metzler, can you tell me, do you have any plans to discuss, your ideas for the future regarding, gold and silver? Would you be able to tell us a little bit about that, or would you prefer to save that for another time?
I posted that I'm looking to invent something new, which is based on trust. And so the NFT technology is giving that opportunity, but the tokens are not for any intangible pictures where it's right now used, but you can use the technology to tokenize individual pieces of gold.
Real tangible assets.
Real tangible assets, and then make it available as tokens to people who are not able to access tangible golds anymore. And I'm working on such a solution, which
that is clever.
Will be live in 3 to 6 months. So.
That sounds fantastic. Let me know about that, because a lot of people like NFTs, and a lot of people don't understand NFTs because they think, why would I pay money for something that is just a picture and could be reproduced? But it sounds to me like you've come up with a much better use for the blockchain and the NFT technology in order to link your investment with a tangible asset, sort of like maybe certain ETFs do, like, for example, PROT Silver, PSLV, which links to the Royal Bank of Canada, the Royal Canada Mint, tangible silver assets. But your marketplace here, it sounds like, would do that via NFT purchases and allow that to be linked to physical metals and precious metals. Is that correct?
Correct. Every piece
Cool.
of gold has a serial number, and can be tokenized as an individual piece, and also put in a vault.
I like that.
Yeah,
that is really cool. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. Thanks so much for sharing that with us. That's a lot of people don't seem, have faith in the almighty dollar, and they believe that the US dollar will be around forever. Unfortunately, with the way that the government has been printing money, the Evergrande situation, the amount of people who have their pensions and 401ks unknowingly invested in these Chinese junk bonds through their money manager, when the market does take a massive, not correction, crash, but let's be realistic here. When the market does crash, and we do see a recession, if not a depression, I hate to say it, but we got to be realistic with ourselves here. Looking at the global state of the economy, the absolute zero real GDP growth that has been forecasted by the Atlanta GDP, which has been downgraded month after month after month since the beginning, since the quantitative easing began to taper even slightly. We are seeing absolutely no economic growth, no stock market growth. The actual reduction in value of the S&P 500, the NASDAQ, back down to more realistic levels, which would be underneath 2,500, in my opinion. when you take out the $9 trillion Federal Reserve balance sheet. As they unwind, and this kind of all seems to crumble apart, market makers and hedge funds are going to get margin called, like we discussed, right, for heavily shorted stocks. And name your stock, their products, if it's heavily shorted, it's probably going to go up, whether you like Ocugen, Progenity, Cost, PBIG, MMAT, Sundial, AMC, GameStop, and everyone's got their price targets. But a lot of people don't seem to realize that this is what's happening. When the market crashes and these stocks fly, the Federal Reserve has to step in to give out bailouts to the DTC and these monies. It seems like less than 1% of people globally are going to make a lot of money, and 99% of people are going to lose a lot of money. Do you think that's an accurate assessment?
Yes, it's an accurate assessment. And in addition, with the hyperinflation scenario,
because of the printing of money, right? Because they have to print more money, it's going to cause further hyperinflation, correct? Yes. But a lot of people don't seem to understand that investors such as you and I are not the problem. We are not the problem here. We are the solution. All we're doing is hedging for what we see to be an overinflated stock market, economy, real estate bubble. And banks have been fighting it for far too long.
So we are intelligent investors. So you should be shorted right now, or being long with AMC, GME on all the shorted stocks. But be patient. Wait for the market crashing. Wait for the margin calls, and then once when you would not expect it, it will happen. And then you take the gains and invest into tangible assets if available.
Well, yeah, that's a great point, because at that point you can put your money in something that's going to appreciate in value over time, as opposed to a fiat, which is going to depreciate in value very quickly. Another thing I wanted to mention before, when we have a situation like this, excuse me, you know what? I digress. If you had something to say right now to international bondholders such as yourselves that want to get paid, that want to at least get something instead of nothing, what would you say to them?
So join our action group, stand up for your rights, join us, and we will make it, and we will break that system and send Evergrande into the well-deserved default status.
Because right now he's using your money to keep his zombie company alive.
Correct.
And these prime brokers and banks, market makers, hedge funds are using those collateral, those international bonds that you guys are holding as cheap collateral to prop up the stock market so that they can hedge against, so that they can protect themselves from going bankrupt and needing a bailout due to their bad bets on heavily shorted stocks. It's disgusting that our financial markets have gotten to this point. But sadly, shorting stocks became very prevalent in the late 90s and early 2000s because of the massive profit margins and the fact that hedge funds and banks didn't have to report any capital gains on that, because when a company goes out of business, for example, say Radio Shack or Toys R Us, there's nothing that those shorted. So those shorts that were sold, those synthetic shares that were sold, those naked shorts never have to be bought back, and those positions don't have to be closed out. So that's nothing but profit with zero tax on it for these banks and hedge funds, market makers. It's really a sad situation, but people that don't understand, I try to explain that to them so that they can at least grasp a little bit as to how the global financial system got to this situation. Dr. Metzler, I'd like to thank you again so much.
The financial meltdown has to happen to bring a corrupt and fraud system down, and we will rebuild it after that and make it a better place to live. So So do not give up and fight for your rights. And thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak. And hopefully the next interview,
Absolutely.
we have filed the petition and it will be accepted. And Evergrande will be into a D status. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Dr. Marco Metzler from DMSA, Deutsche Market Screening Agency. We would definitely have to get some international bondholders and some attorneys that have the stones to want to make some money and get this out of the way here. You know, do the right thing, help people out. Don't let these banks put more of these junk bonds in civilians' pensions. You know, retail investors do not need to eat the bill, to foot the bill for Evergrande and the over leveraging that's happened in our financial systems. Dr. Metzler, what do you propose? What do you propose would be a good step forward to actually making change for retail investors? What could we actually do, if anything, right now to try to make a little bit of change, to try to spread the word on the situation?
So try to report to the SEC what's going on with the hedge funds. Do insist a right to the politicians what's going on. Make people aware about the system, the financial system. What fraud is going on. Do register your shares that you own it, because at some point you need evidence that you're holding the shares. Yeah. And that you can do. Yeah. So you have to insist on your rights and do not give up.
All right. Appreciate that so much, Dr. Metzler. I thank you again for all your time, your efforts. You're doing the world a big favor here by speaking with us and sharing your knowledge with us. So again, I would like to say that, you know, everyone that has reached out has wanted me to say thank you, that we all truly appreciate you, and not only for coming out and speaking out, but also footing the bill. So I thank you for coming out and spending your hard-earned money to, you know, to do the right thing and get these junk bonds downgraded and out of the way so that we can actually move on. Because the longer that this lasts, the worse that it's going to be in the long run for the 99% of people worldwide. So thank you again, sir. And I can't wait to discuss this again with you in the next week or so, once we get some international bondholders and an attorney that's got some real balls so we can make something happen. So thank you, Dr. Metzler.
Great. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
And we so goddamn rich.
I think it's time to blow this thing. Get everybody in the stuff together. Okay, 3, 2, 1, let's go.
Getting fucking rich. I want my fucking money.